Okay, good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to today's class. We'll be talking about the TRS, which is a branch of meteorology. TRS, which is Tropical Revolving Storm. So these storms are intense depression that may develop in a tropical latitude between 5 degrees and 20 degrees north and south of the equator. Usually it occurs at a very low pressure areas. So, and there are some conditions for the formation of these TRS. There are some conditions that cause it. One of the major conditions is the sea temperature. All right. The sea temperature has to be more than 26 degrees Celsius. And over a large area, rising air to the air temperature and the humidity. And I think most of us have notes. Hello? I believe most of us should have our notes. So I actually prepared for a slide, but fortunately I couldn't complete it, so I just have to scrap it. So I'll do more of the talking, so you can just take note of the discussion. So the ocean will be very warm to about 50 meters depth. So, and there will be evaporation. You know, when the sea surface is, when the temperature of the sea surface increases, it's just like you boiling water. When you put some, when you put water on the fire, probably in your kettle, you see when it gets to 100 degrees and above, you will notice some vapor coming up. That is evaporation. The water is going to evaporate. And when it evaporates, it forms cloud. All right? Just like the water you boil in your kettle. When the water comes out, it comes out as steam. And you practically see the steam coming out. So on the surface of the water evaporates and forms cloud in the troposphere. So another condition for the formation of TRS is cyclonic, which has to do with the Coriolis effect. So Coriolis effect is very great between 30 degrees, either north or south, between 30 degrees north or south to 5 degrees north or south. So at this latitude, we have this cyclonic effect. So the cyclonic effect will occur. And another condition for the formation is wind. We have low horizontal wind, which is needed to prevent the cloud from getting to the troposphere. So the wind will prevent it. The air that is being evaporated from the sea surface is meant to get to the troposphere. But when the wind applies on it, works on it, it prevents it from getting there. So it's going to form in the mid-air. It's not going to get to where it's supposed to be. And the last condition that affects it as well is this disturbance. So there's this easterly wave from Africa, majorly from the Sahara Desert. It blows to the northern North Atlantic. This can also do what? This can also form, or this can also cause TRS to form. So, and we have period where TRS occur both in the northern hemisphere and in the southern hemisphere. But mostly in the northern hemisphere, it forms late summer. It's formed in the late summer. And it occurs mainly between June and November. That is in the northern hemisphere. But in the southern hemisphere, it occurs between November and April. And we have it in the Indian Ocean. We have it in the South China Sea. We have it in the Bay of Bengal. We have North Atlantic, South Atlantic. We have them. So in these areas, there are different names we call the TRS. In the North Atlantic, we call it hurricane. That's where you hear Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane this. I think in America, they usually give it so many beautiful names just to beautify it. But lo and behold, if you experience hurricane for once, you will never pray to experience it again. I know my guys in Florida, I know it's very common to them there. When it makes the landfall in Florida, then they can explain better. And in the Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, we call it cyclone. While in south, in the China Seas, we call it a typhoon. The Japanese, the Chinese, we call it typhoon. All right. There are some signs. There are some things you experience while at sea. And you will know that you are approaching a TRS. It's very direct. As soon as you start experiencing these phenomena, you know you are either approaching or you're already in a TRS. One of them is swell. When you see a TRS, when you're approaching a TRS, you see the swell coming from the direction of the storm. It's always coming from the high. So you see a very long swell. You see the swell approaching, which is not normal. As soon as you start seeing that, you know you are in the vicinity of TRS. Another thing is pressure. All right. In every area, every part of the world, we have seasonal average with corrected pressure. So in that area, there is, if the pressure in that area is meant to be 1010 hectopascal, which is seasonal. But as soon as you start seeing changes, mostly it's below. So as soon as you start seeing changes, reduction in the pressure, you know you are approaching. For the pressure, if it is below 3 hectopascal, you should know it is developing in that vicinity that you are. It is still developing for 3 hectopascal. But as soon as you start having 5 hectopascal differences, my friend, you are already there. The TRS is around 200 nautical miles from you. So you should try to find your way, try to know where your vessel is located. If you are in the dangerous semicircle or you are in the navigable semicircle, you should know where you are at that moment and find your way around before you run into the high. Another sign of TRS is wind direction and speed. Especially in the tropics, the wind direction and speed is fairly constant. But as soon as you start having variation of wind direction and speed, then you know something is happening. You should know that tropical revolving storm is approaching. So definitely you are going to have increase in speed, in wind speed. So as soon as you start seeing the variation from the normal direction and the speed of wind in your area and where you are at that moment, especially in the tropics, you should know that trouble is looming. Another sign is the sky. You look like the cloud in the sky. Normally, in the vicinity of a TRS, You see a vivid coloring sky at sunrise and sunset. And you also observe Coriolis cloud, increasing the density may be visible between 300 to 600 nautical miles from the storm. So between 300 to 600 nautical miles of the storm, you will see a cirrus cloud. You observe it is very, very clear. And the density will keep increasing as soon as you are getting closer to the storm. And there is another phenomenon here is you'll be surprised that even in the tropical storm, revolving storm, the visibility will be very clear. You have an exceptional good visibility. It's very surprising, but that is the way it is. So you feel it, you see everywhere calm, you see everywhere is very clear. You'll be surprised. Why would you have variation in your wind? At the same time, high wind. You see cloud at the top, but where you are exactly is very, very clear. Clear visibility. So these are the warning signs. As soon as you start seeing all this, all you need to do is to know the location of your vessel and find your way before you get into the storm. All right. I'll talk about some rules. Before going into that, let's talk about the part of the part of a TRS. One part of TRS is called the trough line. I think I have a drawing behind me. I'm going to show you as soon as the time comes. All right. So let's just go through the theoretical aspect here. So the trough line marks is the mid part of the storm. So it's always at the center. While we have track, which is where the TRS has passed already. Why track is where it's going to. It's just like if you have EGDIS on your vessel, you see your track, even on your radar, you can also put it. You see the track where your vessel has already passed, and also ahead of you is where you are going to. That is exactly the same thing with the TRS. It has track where it has passed, and it has parts where it's still going. And we have the dangerous semicircle, which in the northern hemisphere is to the northern part of the storm, while the navigable semicircle is the southern part of the storm, while in the northern hemisphere. It is exactly vice versa in the southern hemisphere. The southern part of the storm, high, is a dangerous semicircle, while the northern part of the storm high, or let me just say of the track and the part, is the navigable semicircle. So if you find yourself in this navigable semicircle in the northern hemisphere, what you do is to keep going to the south, because there is because the TRS tends to go more to the north in the northern hemisphere. The path is not straight as we think. No, it curves, it recurves and recurves down to the northern part in the northern hemisphere. So if you find yourself in the semicircle, the navigable semicircle, you find your way more southern part, move closer to the equator. On both sides, even if you're in the southern hemisphere, what you do is to move closer to the equator, which is safe. Because from 5 degrees downwards, TRS doesn't really happen within that area. The main period area it happens is between 5 degrees and 20 degrees. So you find your way to the equator. And unfortunately, if you find yourself in the dangerous semicircle, all you need to do is to pick enough speed that you can to cross the track or the path, which paths you find yourself to cross down to the navigable semicircle. So when we get to that part, we're going to discuss more on how you navigate your way down to the navigable semicircle. All right. I talked about 4 rules in TRS. Rule number 1, storm approaches. When the storm approaches, you know the pressure falls. When the storm passes, the pressure rises. What does that mean? If you see your atmospheric pressure falling, you should know you are approaching the storm. So if at all you notice that you are already in the storm, in the TRS, and you find out that the pressure is falling, you should know that what? You should know that the trough line is still ahead of you. So you are running into the storm. But if the pressure starts rising, you should know the storm is behind you. You already passed. That is a very good rule to know where you are in the storm. You should be able to know if you are before or after the trough line. All right. Rule number 2 is for you to know if you are in the dangerous semicircle or in the navigable semicircle. In the dangerous semicircle, the wind veers in the northern hemisphere, but backs in the southern hemisphere. This to tell you that if you are in the northern hemisphere and you find out the wind is veering, you should know that you are in the dangerous semicircle. And for you to find your way to the navigable semicircle, all you need to do is very easy. You just need to keep putting the wind on your starboard bow. Pick up your speed and follow the wind. As the wind veers, you keep veering with it. By the time you find your way across the path down to the navigable semicircle, you see the wind will start backing. So as soon as you see the wind backing while in the northern hemisphere, know you are safe. You are in the navigable semicircle and you keep going south. So as the storm approaches, the wind increases. So for the wind, just like the pressure, if you see the wind increasing, you know the storm is still approaching. Okay, someone sent me a message now to explain veering. All right, I think this is time for us to go to the board. All right, if you can see the board, I think it's clear enough. All right. This is the storm. This is a typical TRS in the northern hemisphere. This is the trough line I told you about. We have the trough line here. This is the track. This is the track already passed. All right. The storm is coming this way. This is the storm high. And this is the path. We have possible, like I told you, in the northern hemisphere, the storm goes to the north. So this is a possible track. It's just imaginary track that the storm might follow. All right. So on the path and on the track, we have in the south navigable here. Why up here we have the dangerous semicircle. We have the dangerous semicircle here. Why also in the dangerous semicircle we have dangerous quadrant, which is here, the forward part of the storm. If you find yourself here, you have to find your way down to this navigable semicircle. All right. This is when the wind is veering. This is veering. This is you. If you are here, if this is your position, all right, you will see the wind veering you can see the direction of the wind. Direction on yours, you should keep this direction at all time. Let the wind be here. So let's assume you are here. Let's assume you are here at the trough and you want to find your way down to the navigable semicircle. All right. All you need to do is to keep coming. You keep coming as much as you can to find your way down to the navigable semicircle. As you are doing that, you keep putting the wind on your starboard bow at all time. As soon as the wind is veering, like I said, veering means the wind is on your bow. That is veering. While the wind is veering, like I said, veering means the wind is on your bow. That is veering. While backing is on your stern. So you keep wind on your starboard bow. As soon as the wind starts backing, here in the navigable semicircle, the wind will start backing. As soon as the wind starts backing, you know you are in the navigable. All right. Okay, I just mentioned 2 rules. Let me recap on the rules again. Rule number 1 is pressure. Storm approaching means the pressure will continue to fall. So when the pressure is falling, you know that the storm is still approaching. When the pressure starts rising up, you know you have passed the storm already, which means you are ahead of the trough. The storm is behind you. And rule number 2 is about wind. In the dangerous semicircle, the wind veers in the northern hemisphere, but backs in the southern hemisphere. So as the storm approaches, the wind increases. As the storm passes away, the wind decreases. All right. Rule number 3 is the swell direction. The swell direction is true if the storm comes directly. All right. When in the path or the track, the wind does not change. That the swell direction is always true if the storm comes directly. All right. So okay, sorry about that. The swell direction always comes from the high of the storm. So it's always from one direction. It's not like the wind that changes direction. So the swell comes directly from the high. So if you see a long swell coming from a particular direction, it's going to tell you that is where the eye of the storm is. All right. And rule number 4, I think I've said it before when I was talking about the wind. When the wind is backing in the northern hemisphere, you are in the navigable semicircle. So these 4 rules are very key for you to know where your vessel is in the eye of the storm. And there's another thing about the wind direction as well. In the northern hemisphere, the wind direction goes anti-clockwise, while in the southern hemisphere, the wind direction goes clockwise. So, do I have any questions from anyone?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. My name is Michael.
Can you speak up, please?
Good evening, sir. This is Michael.
All right, Michael.
I have to ask you, I read about the TRS and a little about the TRS, and people were giving opinion about that. Some said in the high of the TRS that the sky is always clear and the sea is always rough, that the swell is always high. And some people said in the high of the TRS is always more calm than the other semicircles. How true is that?
Yes, I think I talked about it when I was talking about the sign of TRS. One of the signs of TRS, which is very, very funny, is the good visibility you see in the storm, in the eye of the storm. The eye of the storm is not as rough as the way people think. It is when approaching it that is very rough. As soon as you get to the eye of the storm is very calm, which deceives a lot of us. So when you find out that you face all these signs we talked about, 200, 300 nautical miles from you, and you keep going, you survive, and you find out you get to a level that everything was just calm. There was nothing happening, my brother. You are a goner. You are a goner, because the high is always very calm. Just like what you said, it's always very calm. Any other question, please?
Yes, sir. Regarding probably okay, I'm on board my vessel. Okay, I'm on duty and I engaged. I'm reading the semicircle of the TRS,
which of the semicircle?
The dangerous semicircle.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm having he said we should keep the wind on our starboard.
On starboard bow.
On our starboard bow. And at this moment, I'm having the wind on my port. And I intend to cross the TRS. Do I alter course and to keep the wind on my, like going outside the TRS, or how do I go about that in real life scenario?
Okay.
I don't know if my question is understandable.
No, can you recap?
Okay. I'm in the dangerous semicircle of the TRS.
All right.
And I'm having the wind on my port bow. And initially I have a coastline at which I am following to a destination. Do I alter course, change my course in order to keep the wind on my port bow?
Okay, if you're in the northern hemisphere, I don't see the possibility of you having the wind on your port bow. All right, and you said you are in the dangerous semicircle. There is, like what I explained, there are ways you need to know exactly where you are. You need to know what the wind is doing. All right. So if you say the wind is on your port bow, that means you're in the dangerous quadrant, but not on the dangerous semicircle.
If I can also chip in, is that at this point, when you have TRS or when you're close to TRS, it's your passage plan. Maybe you want to stick to your route and all that. It's secondary. The primary thing is for you to go into safety, okay? I think there's a vessel called Opus 1 or 1 Opus. If you Google it, you see, I think I have it here. Let me actually share the screen. Just a minute, sorry, of what has just happened. So if you look at the shared screen, you see cargo damage that has happened, and they lost about, recently, that was just about maybe 2 weeks ago, 1,900, 1,900 containers is missing, went overboard. So you can imagine if it's your cargo, where the evil boys in the house, the container they come, the container no go crash. You understand what I mean? So, so it's not, you don't want to stick to your route. So yes, you find the wind in north, you think just have to make sure you get into navigable semicircle to stay far away from it, go into shelter if possible. I have encountered TRS. I was on the LNG Oyo, I think, and we had the TRS Lola in the Indian Ocean. It was bad. Yes, those LNG vessels are very big, right? It was really bad. So if you are on a smaller vessel than that vessel, go into shelter if possible. Get your passage plan into safe area. If you can avoid crossing the path better, if you can try to, it depends on where you are. If you can get into the track, the back, it's better. So that, but you still feel it. I'm not saying that you will not feel it. My experience, we were about maybe 150 to 200 miles away, but it was really, really bad. We lost a lot of things on board, all the electronics, the forward life rafts on the vessel, all the fire extinguishing boxes, everything you can think on deck on those big LNG vessels was gone. So, the most important thing, know where you are, know what you need to do, where do you want to put your wind so that you get into the navigable semicircle. I don't know if that's helpful, Michael.
Yes, sir, very much.
All right, thank you, Captain.
Yeah.
Mike, go ahead.
Okay. One more question which I read online is a situation whereby you are close to shore and the TRS takes place close to shore. How do we try to go through the TRS good sea, or what do we do? I don't know. There's a possibility of the TRS pushing us. I don't really understand. I've been trying to read on TRS, but I don't know.
I went to Louisiana. Went to the port of Louisiana, port in Louisiana, just after the Hurricane Katrina, I think, maybe some months after. And what I saw was the pilot station was underwater. A lot of things were underwater. A lot of fishing boats were on land. A lot of small crafts were on land. Just total damage, complete damage. It is said that if you are in ports, if you are in harbor area or in anchorage and a TRS is coming, it's safer for you to proceed to sea because when the water comes, it might carry you to land, you know, when it's high. And when it becomes, when everything drains away, you meet yourself in Aba Road. Or you meet yourself in the streets in Joburg, where you're not meant to be. So a lot of people will advise that if TRS is coming and you're close to land, proceed to sea so that at least, yes, you float at the end of the whole drama while you continue checking. And, you know, you're not there by yourself. You'll be listening to meteorology channels. You'll be listening to your forecast. Your company will, because they have the assets, they have you people there as well. So they'll be advising you on what to do, what not to do, where you should go, what they think, you know, clusters, try to stay away from other vessels, you know, just to make sure you are fine. So it is a good question. I like the question, but you have to think, that's when they say the ship is safe at harbor, but really when the TRS is coming, you're not safe at harbor, you need to go to sea. Yeah. All right. Sorry, Kappa. I just said I had a first-hand experience of what I've seen, and you know where TRS has passed. Those things are beasts when they make landfall. So you want to be at sea as much as possible.
So, Mike, are you clear enough?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Captain.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, sir. I have a question, sir.
All right, please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Captain Josh, well done, sir. I don't know,
Yes,
like, can we say, for me, I don't know, because the way you've said it, like, it's a natural disaster, right?
exactly.
Can we say, or can we get to know, like, okay, like you said, evaporations and all causes, like, the major reasons why this thing formed? It's a natural disaster. Like, can we then say, like, how exactly can seafarers, how exactly can we seamen, aside the signs we get to know or the signs we get to study in order for these things, for us to prepare ahead of it, can we say there are ways in which we can get to avoid a total avoidance of TRS?
All right.
I'm just asking, sir.
Yeah, I understand. I think that is why you have your passage plan. All right. So passage plan is from berth to berth. And you should think about everything that is going to happen on the way. So during your appraisal period, you should have checked and you know when you are sailing, the period of the year you are sailing, you know where you are sailing to, like you sailing from let me say, from Southampton, you are going down to Brazil around July. You should expect to meet TRS on the way because that is the period. So during your appraisal, you should be able to forecast and check the phenomena you are going to meet on the way. If there is probability of TRS, and also your company will also help you with assure weather routine. That is why we have weather routine. All right. So the company will advise you, okay, there's possibility of you meeting a TRS on the way. They will tell you the best route you can take to avoid it, or the voyage to be postponed till it is safe to. Because for me, I would rather postpone the voyage if there's nothing that can be done. So the main thing for us is to take the ship from port to port safely. All right? Have I answered your question?
Yeah, that's well understood, sir.
Okay, so let me share my screen again, and I'll show you guys the website I use. It's called passageweather.com. I'm not being paid to advertise, but I use this a lot. And the last time I used this was on my trip from on air to Busan, South Korea, which took us about 2 months. And so if you come to this passage weather, you can see, so we left somewhere here and we went this way. This is Cape, and we went all through the Indian Ocean. We went somewhere here. This is Singapore. We spent maybe, I think, 2-3 days in Singapore. Then we proceeded from Singapore and we came somewhere that direction. So Korea. All right. I think we went past it. Somewhere. Okay. So if you check this website yourself and try and click it, so for example, I've clicked on that. It showed me a little bit more. It's going to be breaking it down. So let's see what's happening in this area at the moment. So you can see the wind speed, the expected is an estimate, right? It's forecast. And you can actually see as it's moving. Are you seeing my screen? If you're not, you need to.
Yes.
Yes.
We do.
Yeah.
I'm seeing your screen.
So
yes, we're seeing it, sir.
All right. So you can swipe and you can see when the color is changing. You see that yellow, green, and all that. So again, as Captain Joe said, your passage plan, you should have. So while you're leaving, when you're leaving your port of departure, you probably, let's say on air, for example, how long will it take you to get to Cape? You should have thought about that. So you'll have had a forecast of your wind in that period, all right? So your surface pressure, like Cap was saying here, if you move this as well, you see what's happening. You see, you can actually see all that. So when the drop in pressure, you notice a drop of 3 hectopascal within 4 hours, you are running into TRS. So we on our last trip, we had somewhere around just after Angola, we had a wind speed of about 50 knots head on. yeah. The guys that were on the trip, they were probably praying. I was just sleeping. So yeah, so this is very good, and you see the wave height as well. I've used this website for over 10 years. Anytime I'm around, I just scale through it and you have a look and see. So if you're seeing things in the purple, red, deep red section, there's a problem, all right? So you have all this technology in place now for you to have a proper forecast, for you to plan yourself, okay? So the ship will now want their cargo. You might not be able to postpone, but you might be able to, dance around or make an alteration away from it as much as possible. Think about the cargo, think about your crew, think about your engine, think about your bunker, and all that. So there's a whole lot of things the captain will be thinking about at the same time. Can you guys eat? When people have TRS or when we have bad weather. I used to tell people when we're going on international trips, just have a lot of soft drinks, Coke, Fanta, 7-Up, all that, and a lot of biscuits, a lot of Gary, Cocoa Gary.
And dry fish.
Nobody can eat at that point, right? And I will tell you my secrets when I go to the bridge during bad weather, so that nobody will know that. So anyway,
I believe you go with kuli kuli.
Oh yeah, so visibility and presentation, you see that. So this website, if you don't have anyone from your company directly, this is a very good one. See temperature as well. You see the temperatures are on very high. Yeah, so the temperature. So all this will let you know what to expect. You see, you are getting to the 26 mark around this region, all right, and all that. So if you get to that mark and you are within your 5 miles to 25 to 30 degrees north or south, what are like what Captain Josh said, is those are the, are those conditions getting ripe. So when you have this and you have a cyclone, which is a low pressure, you have the wind, everything, and you have a disturbance. Bingo. You have it, all right? And also have in mind that forecast is not always 100%.
Right.
So when there's a forecast and it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean they're wrong as well. It means it might be delayed. So you understand? So you're expecting bad weather today and it did not come. It doesn't mean it won't come tomorrow. Okay. So all that you need to keep in mind. But for the sake of the exams, guys, so remember your conditions, which will come approaching, like Captain, and all that.
Capi, please, can you help us share the this present SAT logbook? Can we share it on the group, please, sir?
Okay, I'll share
this present passageweather.com, sir. So okay, we could just have it like as a pin.
Okay, I'll share that as well. No problem. So yes, and it depends on where you are. So if you're a second mate or you're a chief mate or you're even the captain and you're going on this trip, pass this to your officers. Now you also have routine charts. Don't forget routine charts. A lot of people don't understand routine chart. They come in months in the particular year. So that you have, that's where you have, let me go back to wind and waves and all that, So you have the predominant, they call it the predominant for the part. So you expect, so if you're coming now, going from maybe Congo to South Africa, what do you expect the wind to be? It's going to probably be opposing, if you understand what I mean. If you're going from South Africa to Nigeria, you have that behind you. So you probably gain more speed, all right? So if you're coming down, you know that you're going to have maybe 1 knot or 2 knots, or depending on what you see. And on your routine chart, it's always written, the predominance is always written. So if you're going through this area now, you expect some rolling when you're going this direction, because it's going to be eating you from the side. You understand what I mean? So it's not going to be from the bow. So, expect to see roll and roll. I'll probably share some videos with you later. But it's always interesting anyway. After the trip is interesting. When you get to port, you can go to club. That is very interesting. Nobody likes it. So yeah, don't let me take too much of our time. Any other questions, please?
Yeah. Sorry, please, I don't know. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Please go ahead.
JJ, that's Jim or John.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it when you mention specifically about the sea temperature to be 26 and above as a sign of a TRS with the depth of 50 meters. Please, I don't know if you can give me specifically, because some of the signs of the TRS to include the wind speed, the swell height, the pressure. Okay, you talked about the pressure when it reduces to about 5 hectopascal. But I want it like the wind speed. At what wind speed can we say we are in the TRS? Okay. Or at what swell height? Then another important thing, the TRS stance, does it covers? How many nautical miles can we say it covers? Then does it happen rapidly or it takes time to build up? Thank you very much, sir.
Should I take that or you take that, Cap? Which one? Should I? Yeah.
No, Cap, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, so I like you want, all right, so different TRS have different, they have different strengths. What happens once the TRS forms is out of anybody's control, really. It's just going to be predictions and, and all that. When I was in school as a cadet in Warsaw, we used to have a day where we do the predictions of the weather. So that day is yours. You go to the station and you do all the predictions yourself. You might be right, you might be wrong. Anyway, so when the TRS starts, you don't know the strength of the TRS. It takes a process before they call it a TRS. So you always have low pressures every time, but when it gets to a certain stage, then there's a body that I used to give them the sexy names. Now they started giving them some guy names because some people are not happy that they're only giving them female names. Then they will now call it a CRS or a hurricane or a cyclone. So there's always low pressure, high low pressures anyway. So you can't read. So what you need to know It's not that, okay, I'm seeing a wind of 15 knots and that means there's TRS. So that's not what you need to know right now, because you can have wind of 15 knots and it's far away from you. You're not in the space. The swell is, when you have swell, something is coming from somewhere. Where is it? You don't know as well, you know. And the water movement will continue until it gets to shore, until something stops it. Okay. So the key things you need to know: sea temperature. There's a cyclone. There's a dump disturbance, then there's a Coriolis force that triggers it. So you understand what I'm saying? So now these things build up over time, and it could come up suddenly as well, but not suddenly like I say maybe 10 minutes or whatever. So that's why they say if you notice a drop in pressure in a 4-hour period, all right? So you are going into something. So it is not instant noodles, if I may say. I hope I answered the question. Yeah, Michael, you raised your hand up. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir, Captain. In a situation where you are in PRS and probably you lost your issue, what do we do? In the midst of the TRS,
Okay.
what if you take the proportional system? What is advisable?
Okay, what's your propulsion system? Captain George said that when you need to speed up and go to the navigable semicircle, you know, you need to know, first thing is, where are you actually, you know?
Exactly.
That's the first important thing. So you need to get away from where you are. So when I experienced TRS Lola, we dropped speed, but it couldn't really help. And that speed we were normally used to give us about 20 knots. And at that same RPM, we're doing 7 knots, all right? So do you want to drop speed more? You want to get out, right? So again, it's a balance of the situation. It's not a one thing fix all, you know, it's a balance of the situation. You have to assess it. It's your passage plan really, with the engineers, and what are your engines even doing as well. You know, I had one, we were going to the dry dock. We were going to dry dock and we had this bad weather. We had only one engine instead of 2. So what do you want to do again? And we realized that we were even going as 10. All right. So, you know, so yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Captain, this call, Stephen.
Yeah,
I have a question.
right.
Please, Cap. Thank you very much. Please, I want to know, like, if you encounter a tropical revolving storm, a TRS, and you've seen that, you know, there's this, I want you to throw more emphasis on this navigate semi-cycle, where you can be able to navigate in case maybe you didn't get the weather information on time, and then you approached a bad weather at sea. So how do you find out your safe navigable semicircle that you can actually to a route or a route that wouldn't disturb you while you're navigating? Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you for that question. I remember my rule number 4. Rule number 4 said, when the wind is backing in the northern hemisphere, you are in a navigable semicircle. So we have parameters for you to know exactly where you are in the midst of the storm. So if your vessel is in the northern hemisphere and you see the wind is backing, you should know you are in the navigable semicircle. Have I answered your question?
Yes. Okay. If I am in the northern hemisphere and the wind is
yes,
then I'm in the navigable.
It's backing.
Yeah.
Exactly. But if you are in the southern hemisphere and the wind is veering, you should know you are in the navigable semicircle.
It's two different procedures, like the opposites of the other.
Opposite, exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. You're welcome, brother. Any other question, please? Captain Busayo, you are welcome.
Captain Busai.
Any other question?
Captain Busai is probably experiencing some, you know, hurricane. You can see his scarf in his neck.
I don't mind. I just coming back from a travel. So sorry for coming late.
It's okay, boss. So you can see the scarf in his neck. It means the temperature is very cold. It's all right. It's all right. So, guys, a quick one. We're rounding off shortly. There's I think the very first video we did. I drew the weather patterns of the herds. It's a very important video. You should try and check it. It will give you the background. Without you having that background, the TRS will be a bit clumsy. So the first video where you have the weather patterns, the pressure patterns, yes, how the wind, the pressure, how it moves exactly. So you'll be able to have a clue, and you'll be able to see the opposites that Captain Joshua is trying to say in the north and in the south. Okay, so if you the link is on our YouTube channel. I'll probably look for it and paste it again. But if you check it out, you'll see it there. Any other questions, guys? KM, do you have any question for us? Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here, and no, I do not have any questions.
All right. So when you guys have the rough weathers in the Cape or in your areas, what do you do? What do you do?
Normally, we'll just secure the vessel for heavy weather conditions. And yeah, basically, that's what we normally do.
All right. So you guys are in port, but you secure for heavy weather condition, right? Oh, I mean in anchorage.
Sometimes in anchorage, sometimes out at sea, because you find sometimes you have like your wind speed at roughly 60 knots. So normally that's what you do. You just normally pray around those times and hopefully make it.
While we've mentioned this, I think it's good that we should state to everybody, especially you guys, why before you go to sea, you need to secure. Thanks for KM for mentioning that for every weather. It is very important. Your mooring ropes, when captains say get the mooring ropes in, like, this captain does like too much work. He just like they give us, they give us joy, because if the weather pattern, if the weather changes at sea, none of you guys would like to go out on deck at that time. So before you go, everything that you fly off, secure it, because the weather can change very fast. If your mooring rope goes into the water, what happens? It could foul your propeller. All right. Then if it fouls your propeller, guess what? I've been on a ship where the mooring rope has fouled the propeller before, but I was a cadet then. I was on a tanker. It's not nice at all. We were in Lagos outside bar, just drifting. The propeller is fouled and all that. We had to get divers. We couldn't drop and fall. We were drifting towards the 10 mile. There's one big tanker in Lagos there. So it can be very embarrassing, all right? So securing your ship, baiting down all your arches, making sure everything is clear on deck before you go to sea, even though the shortest trip can be a very long one, guys, if this thing changes. On our own coast, we have this rip tide. Hopefully the meteorologists among us will start thinking of what causes rip tide so that we can break it down properly, and all that. So yeah, so those are also very important things to note. Okay, it's not just to be on the ship and say, okay, go like this, go like this. No. We have to be professional, guys. We have professional. Captain Busai, do you have something to chip in before we round off?
Yeah, I just have a quick question, and I would just like everybody to answer. So, from what we've heard of TRS today, if your vessel is at port, you're alongside, just like KM was saying, and then you hear, you've gotten a warning that TRS is coming to the port. Would you prefer the TRS meet you at the port or meet you at sea?
we answered that question before you came.
Because that one was always an oral question. I'm glad Captain
Yeah.
But it has always been an oral question that has always met people in their in their own failure side.
Yeah, exactly. So I give them experience of myself when we visited Louisiana. What's the name of this port again in Louisiana on the LNGs, and we saw everything, on land when the water has dried. So, total damage, guys. So yes, please, guys, every little thing, take precaution. I have to say, please, these classes does not replace your school attendance. So, please, guys.
Very important.
All right, Michael, your last question for the day.
Please, once you notice the TRS, is it a perfect time for you to call the attention of the captain to the
I will answer that question. I think you should know the answer already. Maybe Captain Musaya can help you with the question.
What's the question?
Once you take note of the TRS, is it the perfect timing to right time to call the captain to the bridge, right? To call the attention of the captain.
He wants to know when to call the captain. I think you should ask him when you should call the captain.
I think from I've been following Captain Joshua, and we can see how dangerous the TRS situation is. So honestly, I do not think it's something you should contemplate that let it get to this stage before I call the captain, if you understand what I'm saying. So once you see a drop in your barometer, you see the signs that Captain Joshua says, the cloud, you should immediately try and let the... Once you are in doubt, when I was captain, once you are in doubt of anything, see, just call me. I don't want to hear, I thought that control. And when it's no more under control, the situation has escalated because the captain needs to be fully aware of what's happening, even from the beginning of the situation. Yeah. So I will advise you, do not be intimidated, and maybe your captain will say you are disturbing him or anything. You are in doubt, there's Tropical Revolving Storm. Allah is the captain, if it's Captain Tayo, if it's Captain Joshua, if it's Captain. Just make sure you allow them at the early stage. Don't let it escalate because you might blame yourself.
Thank you very much,
Captain. Captain Tayo, please. I want to ask a question. I don't know. This is how I'm going to put it. In a situation where, you give us a plan of the site you dropped on the group now. In a situation whereby you find yourself in a vessel that is out of data, for you to get to check in, how exactly do you intend going about that? You finding yourself in a system whereby you can get access to the modern equipment that have been provided. How do you go about it? And then you're in this kind of situation.
Okay, our elder said that before corn, fowl don't they chop something.
Right.
So what I mean, for the cadets that have worked with me, even to date, I tried to teach them how to use the sextant. They probably will never use it anyway, but they might just think I'm doing it too much. And I tell them how to use the crude way. Nowadays, chat correction is automatic. You just do it and everything is just corrected. People don't even know how to use this, the weekly. They don't know the website actually to even check the chat for corrections. They don't know how to cut paper anymore. It was, for you as a cadet to be looking forward to where is that cut paper, that means you're a third officer. So you start looking at where you start using scissors to paste on chat. That's why you're a second officer. But nowadays everything is so you still need, we need to understand the principles. The techniques are changing, but we need to understand the principles of this whole thing, so that in case of, so people now will say the ship doesn't have DP, so I cannot maneuver, and all those kind of things. So it is having understanding of the principles. Yeah, Captain Busaya, sorry, you want to say something?
No, sorry, you've answered it all, because I wanted to say, even before, the technology came about, there have been principles that has been put in place for us to know, all these things. And the thing is, even the data that you are talking about, what happens even if the data is wrong? Are you going to fully rely on the data? Are you going to stop? And these are questions that, you will need to ask yourself as you become officer and also senior officers as well. So we fall back to the data. There is no how you can continually monitor a pressure and you will get the reading back. There's no how you can be looking at the cloud. You don't need data to look at. You just need to know the characteristics, of each cloud as well. You do not need the data to try and understand. I don't want to go into much into the details of, the principles of how Captain Joshua has really analyzed how you can really detect that a TRS is coming. But if you now need the data is only used to help you, but it should not be your primary focus. So that's why master mariners, if you work with people like Captain Tayo, I've heard testimony from his cadets, you must still go back to the old ways. You don't come here and be memorizing with EBDICs, and you still go back to the and be checking GPS and back, still go back to the sextant. So this is something that, even we, the upcoming seafarers, need to still input that knowledge in us, still try and get back to the basic, still try and analyze what will I do when even the AIS fail. What will I do when the radar fail? What will you do when the GPS fail? These are all those questions which any other day, either me, Captain Joshua, will ask you as the OW, what will you do when your equipment, navigational equipment is full? And this goes back to, what we normally do before. So the FD is supposed to be just helping. The DP is supposed to be helping. Every other data is supposed to be helping. But you need to know the basic principles at which this data operate, and you yourself, you will not be able to be counting on this, equipment before you have safe navigation. Does that answer the question?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It does. Thank you very much.
All right then, guys. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have everybody here today. Captain Josh, that board at your back, just take a picture and send it to the group. Very, very rough. I have to say, I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed about the level of engagement in this group. I really hope everybody's learning one or two things here. It's just we just sharing, and I really hope you also guys pay it forward as well when you become officers. You don't even need to become officers. What you learn today, teach someone tomorrow, and that's how it will stick. All right. Even if you make a mistake or you're not sure, just tell them what you remember. It will stick. Okay. And if you have something to teach us as well in the house, don't be shy. Let us know. We will listen. Okay. We will listen. All right. Thank you so much, guys. It's always a pleasure to have everybody. Captain Josh, thank you. Captain Messiah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Have a good night. Rest, everyone. See you next week, Tuesday.
Very much. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank
you, Captain Messiah.
Yeah,
thank you.
Next Tuesday, we'll have that next Tuesday will be our last class for the week for the year.
Big stand for the captain.
Then we'll go for Christmas holiday.
Happy now.
Wow. We need pop champagne for the class.
Yes, per wine. Or you buy Pepsi and shake it very well. Buy Pepsi and shake it.
Captain, thank you.
Safe.
Thank you. Thanks, Captain Joshua.
Thank you, sir. From JJ, thank you, sir.
This is the Lato. I put on.
Latoye. All right.
All right, then. Take care, guys.
Thank you, Captain Joshua.